All right, Arise Director of News and Politics, Editor Sambo joins us now for more on the unfolding political developments in the polity. Thanks so very much, Samna. Where do we start from? I think the most trending one that we want to look at politically is the protest first by the PDP leadership, you know, arising from the presidential elections, then as well as INEC going to court, seeking court order, you know, to wipe out the presidential election results so that it can accommodate the governorship and House of Assembly. What's the implication of this politically?
Thank you so much, Christian and Adesua. For the protests which you've talked about, I mean, fundamentally, it's good to see the PDP following the routes for protests, actually. I mean, we've seen them not being chaotic in organizing their protests. It's a peaceful protest. The demonstration to the INEC headquarters was well coordinated. I mean, that's a good aspect of it. But of course, PDP itself is tasting the pill that it used to give to other political parties. In those days, I mean, when things happen, you hear them saying, go to court and all of that. And what was the PDP expecting when it could not galvanize the opposition to be able to present a formidable front? When the APC wanted to take power from the PDP in 2015, I mean, look at it. We had all political parties. It was
divided.
Yes, I mean, you could see. And
saboteurs within the party too.
Yes, I mean, you could see. I mean, even there was a new PDP, there was a part of ABGA, there was ACN, there was CPC, there was AMPP, including, you know, the civil society. I mean, there was a coalition of forces to actually take power. But if you look at the 2023 election, you see that the PDP went into it as a divided house. There were opportunities for it to actually unite people. They didn't. And that's why you see that the struggle for the leadership of the PDP remained the way it was. Because people, after concluding within the PDP that the problems will not be solved, got stuck on the party's leadership because they were already thinking of 2027. And that's why you see that IU did not resign. Atiku Abubakar will not let IU go because he knows that if he loses the election, he wouldn't want to lose the party's leadership again to his political foes. That's why you saw that Nyesom Wike too was insisting that they wanted IU to go. Because if IU goes, they know that if the PDP doesn't win, they will be in charge of the party's leadership to know who produce the presidential candidate for 2027. So they knew that they were going to this election as a divided house, unlike the PDP that went into the election in 2019, which is the strongest PDP that would say, you know, we've seen in recent times. So in as much as a lot of us are not happy with what INEC did, the uploading of results were not done speedily like INEC had promised us. And then we hear even some of the APC lawmakers that promoted the Electoral Act saying that it was transfer and not transmission of election results. Nonetheless, the failure of the PDP to galvanize the opposition has led us to where we are. Because if you add 6 million from Labour Party, 6 million from PDP, and then 1 million from NNPP, isn't that 13 million? That would have been a clean sweep by the PDP if the PDP had gone into this election like it did in 2019. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, so they should have themselves to blame. Now coming to the issue of INEC.
Seeking a court order now.
Yes. Now, INEC is actually INEC under Mahmoud Yakubu needs to be scrutinized.
Are they at crossroads?
Yes, they are at crossroads because as it stands right now, the mood of the nation towards the next election on Saturday is dampened because a lot of people are seeing an INEC that overpromised and underdelivered. When you tell people that these elections will be transmitted swiftly, even if it's transfer, even if it's transfer, as the lawmakers are letting us know now, not transmission, nonetheless, there's no reason why the election results should still be uploaded over 1 week.
Still being uploaded now.
I mean, this puts us at par with some of the smaller countries in Africa.
Nobody seems to be calling for the resignation of Professor Yakubu here at all.
Yes, INEC under-delivered, but now it's going to court to go and say, look, court, you have already given a reprieve to Labour Party and PDP on it. Didn't INEC foresee it that there will be issues like this, because, I mean, their strategists would have told them, because if it were papers that were used, INEC knows that those papers cannot be tampered with. Now, we use electronic devices, and the Court of Appeal has ruled, has given an order saying that don't tamper with it. Now, INEC is saying that please just grant me some reprieve to use these machines
within 5 days.
Yes, on Saturday. So what will now happen to the data which is there, which the Labour Party and PDP wants to use forensic examiners for? Can INEC tell us what will happen to it? But this BVAS is actually an Android device.
Can Nigerians believe INEC is
Yes, it's an Android device.
Okay.
Can't INEC put aside some of the data that it has, because it's like a new phone. You have put all your details inside and somebody else wants to use the phone. So what, can't you carry all those data and store it somewhere so that you exit it, and then once you exit it, you can now put a fresh data on it?
Yeah, a lot of questions.
INEC is making it look like it's going to be pretty difficult. It needs 5 days.
Yeah.
If it needs 5 days before the election day, right now it looks very late. And the hands of the Court of Appeal are already tied at the moment. And it looks like we're heading towards a postponement of this election, which consequence may be more than, because a lot of political parties are already sending money for mobilization. Party members are prepared, the electorate. Now, if you now further postpone this election with the mood of the nation, there's a tendency that there will be high voter apathy.
But, I mean, you know, a lot of people, given the power of hindsight, a lot of people had said it would have been better for us to have postponed this presidential election than what we have had. But I wanted to ask you...
There could have been a security risk to that also.
Exactly. But you know, there are so many scenarios. The lawmakers can play around semantics, say transfer or transmission. But we heard the INEC chairman and officials from INEC say repeatedly transmission. So the lawmakers can stay with their semantics of transfer. I wanted to ask you the implications politically of a postponement of the governorship elections, because we do know at the expiration of their time in office the expiration is every 4 years, and every process is time bound. Should INEC postpone these elections, does that affect the tenure in office of governors in Nigeria? Would it affect it?
No, if the postponement is within 14 days.
Within the period,
Within 14 days. Because anytime INEC is setting a calendar, timetable, there's always that buffer zone. Yes, that buffer zone that's created should, in case there's a problem or there's a runoff, what happens? So there's usually that buffer, and it's usually like 2 weeks. So if INEC does that, yes, it will still be within the time frame for holding the election. But the question is, Adeswa, if they do so, will 2 weeks be enough for Labour Party and the PDP to be able to use to scrutinize 176,000 beavers across the country? That is the challenge that we are having, because they are saying that nothing, based on the court order we have on ground now, nothing must happen to
the data.
The data that's already there. But can't the data be stored somewhere and then the devices can now be reused so that stored data will not be tampered with?
And we're already getting promises from INEC that, you know, beavers will be used, it will be transmitted. Can they really live up to those promises they're making, or is it time for INEC to just work and stop talking?
No, of course. The thing is that these particular machines are very important, because it's not just about conducting another election. These machines will help, you know, the credibility of the elections. So if the beavers are not used or something happens to the beavers, there will be a lot of challenges here and there in the course. So the credibility of the beavers machines are there. I mean, for accreditation, the beavers performed very well. The only problem we had was the issue of the transfer, or the timing of the transfer or transmission, as they called it, because we are still receiving the uploads of some of those results as we speak right now. So what INEC can do is to see how they work with the Court of Appeal to ensure that Nigerians do not wake up on Saturday and hear that these elections have been shifted. And if the elections are to be postponed, the elections should be postponed on time, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday so that people know and people don't travel to go and vote only to hear that the election has been postponed.
Well, while thanking you, Sumner is getting stuck with that semantics we heard
Transfer.
from the
Lawmakers.
No, even former Inspector General Police Transmission Omission Commission transfer. And the rest.
But good enough you mentioned the police. Actually, in these elections, unlike previous elections, just like the IG said, we didn't hear a lot of cases against the police. The police seem to have performed very well during the presidential election. And we hope that they will do so.
Yeah,
of course, but it was
minimal,
unlike
previous elections.
We hope that during the governorship elections, the governors, will not use them and misuse them, and it causes problem. So it's good to ask the police to remain very, very neutral and apolitical. It's INEC now that's coincidentally being called upon and being seen as political by the political parties. So we hope that going to the election, all institutions will play their role and the courts will not be allowed to decide. Because where we're heading to now, it looks like it's the courts that will be deciding the will of the people. And that's no longer democracy. Because the people have to have the last say as to who governs them, not the courts, telling us or declaring winners for us. That may not go well for our democracy.
Interesting.
I'm sure some other political thoughts will not agree with you there, but let's leave it there. Sambo, Arise Director of News and Politics Editor. Thanks so very much for coming.